was quite the guy. We had a ham dinner, the auxiliary did up in the Legion Friday night, and I didn't know who his wife even was, and she was a Girl Scout when I was a Scout leader,
really?
and we were having a great old talk.
Okay. This is a home interview, Barber Street, Greenwich, New York. It is the 26th of April, 2006, approximately 1:15 p.m. The interviewers are Wayne Clark and Mike Russert. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
Gerald Elmer, St. Clair, at 20 Barber Avenue, Greenwich, New York. The night, the 22nd.
No, 7th.
Yeah, the 7th. The night, the 7th of the year 22nd. I'd be 83 years old.
Where were you born?
Born right here in Greenwich.
Greenwich, okay.
And of course then we moved from there all over the country. Dad was a farmer, and he heard where there was a place in just outside of Port Henry that he could rent and buy, known as the Oak Point Farm. Well, he's run that for, I don't know, 8-10 years, I guess. I remember going to school there at Cheever, and that school is still there. I went to. And then all of a sudden somebody from New York, they bought the farm off and under him, then he went to another farm in Westport. And it was the same thing through there until my brother Floyd got killed in the driveway. And then they just still couldn't stand that anymore, so then they sold out, moved to, below Albany, a place called, it's on Route 9, just outside of Albany. Oak Point, or the Copland farm there. And from there, then he sold out and retired and then moved back into Rensselaer and went to work in the railroad station there in Rensselaer.
Well, how much education did you have before you went into service?
I passed the 8th grade, just outside of, my last school year was in Castleton. That's where I went to started in the, what they call high school there then, now it's 9th grade. But I graduated from there at 16. I went back to...
What year did you graduate?
Ah.
Because that's where I'm from.
What, Rensselaer?
Well, I was just
Castleton.
I was just 16 years old. I graduated that September.
Okay.
At 16. So that's going back way back into the 20s.
Okay, do you remember where you were when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Yeah. I was, when it was Pearl Harbor, I don't know about it being hit. But I think it was in Camp Mexie, Texas. I camped there at the time they bombed Pearl Harbor.
Now, what were you doing there?
Training there. That's why I went in service. Or wait a minute.
Now, 43 you went into service, you said. This
43,
was 41.
yeah, right. Oh, there's some questions there you got me
that's
puzzled
okay.
on.
Do you remember at all how you felt when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Yeah. Mostly why and how they ever got there to do it. On the same token, I can mention too, is how we ever won the war in Germany.
Yeah.
I'll get that later, but the fact of it is now, it's kind of hard to remember back those years.
Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I was drafted.
Okay. Now you were drafted into the Army. Where did you go for your basic training?
And Camp Mexie, Texas.
Okay. How long were you there?
Well, we there, which is about a 13-week of basic, I guess, and then we waited. They put us on hold until they got our equipment for our guns. I was in the 731st Field Artillery Battalion, the 155 Long Toms. And we trained, of course, as a cannoneer and trained, but I ended up as driving a tractor in the communication. But there's a story I got to tell you first about that. See, when I was discharged on a temporary discharge. Why? Because when I was wounded, shipped back to Cherbourg, I was supposed to get on that one ship. But there goes my duffel bag, my records, and everything else on the ship. But when I got to me to load up, well, there was no room. So I went over on another ship, which was the SS Wakefield. That's when I come back on, was a hospital ship. The other ship was a Queen, I don't know, anyway. I got news later on that that ship had sunk. When it did, there's all my records, my duffel bag, and everything else I had was on that ship. And this is why I was discharged with a temporary discharge, as the discharge says. All that stuff, you'll find that stuff on the discharge is unknown. All because of that, because at the time they discharged me, they had no record of it. But since then, of course, they have found records and so on and so forth of where that, what I was and what I did.
Now, what kind of training did you receive to be assigned to the long times?
Well, that's when we went to Camp Grover, Oklahoma, supposed to train on the long toms. At that time, we had a D9 tractor that pulled the long toms, and we took out to be trained on them. Then they changed that from the D9 tractor to the M4 prime mover, which they had at the time where I started to be trained to be in the communications and also a tractor driver to haul the guns with, and also for the communications bit. And that's how they got on my discharge as a tractor driver. And
now, what do you mean by a tractor? Did it have treads on it?
Yeah, the M4s were the same thing as the cats were, only they had a passenger body on them.
So it was more or less like a bulldozer, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And, well, yeah, they were, but there was the same thing. They had the 550 Waukesha motor in them, 6-cylinder motor in them, where the tanks had the radio motors in them. But as far as the framework goes and all that bit were, now they had an 8-inch armored plate underneath them for landmines too, which I used to use quite often. But the whole thing of it was, the tractor that I drove could pull the gun. And now the gun weighed 18 tons, and so did the tractor did. And I used to pull a gun to put it in position, and I had the tractor. And the way it was rigged up, I could lay telephone wires the same way as I could pick up the same time. With 2 cables and 2 wires, where I let it out to put the wire in, and so on and so forth with the communications. And also drove a pull gun with it. Helped pull guns in and out of section with it. And getting into the farther of it, I'll tell you later though about how we used to use the instead of digging the holes, put the trails in for the guns, we used to put the tractor across them.
Oh, to keep...
to hold the trails down so they could fire the gun. But I'll get into that later. I'll wait to get through your questioning, and then I'll tell you the story complete.
Hey, now how many guns were there in your battery?
There was 4 guns. Well, there was 12. There was 4 guns in the battery, which is A, B, C, and D. I was in C battery. And there was A, B, and C, and then there was, of course, the truck and the maintenance in the battalion. But I was known as a C battery. Ours was we were the top ones in the battalion. And there's a story I'll tell you about that later on too. I don't know if I should, but I will anyway.
Now, how long did you train on the guns before you left the States?
It must have been at least, we were in the Camp Grover at least, I think 2 months anyway. Then we went back to Camp Maxey, Texas. And then from there we went to Louisiana on maneuvers, Louisiana I should call it, and the mud, the mosquitoes and the turtles and snakes and what have you. And then we went back to Camp Maxey, Texas, and from there we went back to Camp Upton, Long Island, and went overseas on the Queen Elizabeth. We were gunner quarters on the Queen Elizabeth going overseas. They had reconditioned Queen Elizabeth as a passenger ship into a transport ship. And that's why we were gunners over there on the way over. And I'm telling you, for the Englishmen we had for instructors, telling us what to do and the words that that was hard work for me to understand. But it was fun. It was good.
Now, did you go right to England?
No,
When did
no.
you get to? When did you get to Europe?
Well, we went in, we landed at Glasgow. Then we went to England for, well, we're just waiting for, I suppose, for D-Day. And then we went into Wales for transfer, for more work there up on our guns up in Wales. Oh man, going to England, I tell you, it was something to get out of there up in the Wales. I used to take our tractor, some of the, where we had to turn from one street onto the other. I had to take my tractor off that way of the street, where the street would turn this way. Well, the guns were so long in the tractor they couldn't make it without taking half of this building down. So what we did, I went up that way with the tractor, hooked onto the gun, and drawed the gun sideways while he went that way. To get around the building going into Wales. And how long we were in Wales, I don't know. We must have been up there for the rain, the sleet, the mud. Tell me about it. But then we went back from there back to Starbridge, England. That's where we landed up from Glasgow. We went to Starbridge, England, and of course we went from there into Wales for more maneuvers. That's what I was after, the word I want. And then we went to Camp Upton. No, it was, yeah, now you got me confused. Where we went loaded on the boat to go over into France, the D-Day. I'll think of the name of the port anyway, where it was, just outside of the south of England. Well, anyway, we were out on the ocean there for 48 hours before we went into Utah Beach. This was after Omaha had been captured. We went into Utah Beach, and of course our first battle was at St. Lo.
When did you go in? Was it on D-Day itself or D-Day?
No, it was. I think it was 48 hours after D-Day. It was 2 days after D-Day that we went in with our artillery. That's when General Patton and his 3rd and 4th and 5th Army went in.
What kind of vessel did you take to land?
I was with a tractor.
What were you in, like an LST when
Oh
you
yeah,
landed?
yeah, the LCM.
Oh,
Oh, the LCM, yeah. Okay, oh, I understand what you're saying.
okay.
Yeah, that was I think the LCM was a local maintenance transportation. Southampton was the port. Yeah, finally got to me. And then, of course, at St. Lo, just outside of St. Lo, I took a sniper bullet on my wrist here. And then they sent me back to England where it broke the radio styloid in my hand. But at the time, I just took the bullet like that and threw it away, but it got infested.
Oh.
So they sent me back to England to have it treated. Well, I was only back there I went back there one morning, and then the next afternoon I was shipped back down to Southampton again, and I drove command cars, English command cars, back through replacement centers, back to my outfit at that time they were at St. Nazaire. And that's where I joined them back from that time back. And then we went from St. Nazaire down into Keynes and headed for the Moselle Valley and the Mets. But we didn't get there yet, so what they did, they pulled us out and took us up to the Battle of the Bulge to get the 6th Army back out of there that was surrounded up there at the Battle of the Bulge. And that's something too. Well, as they can talk about war, being shot at and everything else. But to me, there's an inhuman part of war. Up there at the Battle of the Bulge, I try to forget, but I don't think I ever will. Of course, I was lucky at the time. I'll get ahead of the story a little bit. I was lucky at the time because I had to run the tractor to charge our batteries up for our telephones, because they did go down. But our Zoni on the, he had batteries that he could put in himself. They were extra. But we had to keep communication going for our guns. But I'm telling you, while we were there, I don't know, must have been 15, 16 days, we were firing at Saarbrücken, Germany. One of the biggest exports coming into Germany at that time, northern Germany, and Russia. Had never got above 15 or 16 below zero.
Now, what kind of winter gear did you have?
Well, everything that we could find to put in. But there again, as I was saying, I was lucky, me and the Corporal Blake, Johnny Cowan, and Lieutenant Swinson, the RO officer, for controlling our guns, and Mazzoni on the switchboard. That's what I wanted. He was on the switchboard. He had batteries of his own, but I had to run the tractor to charge our batteries to run from there, from the switchboard to the guns. Well, lots of times the tank would be moving around and run over wires. We had no way to put them in the air or anything else, so we laid them across the ground. Well, I used to crawl just about dark at night so nobody would see us to fix the wires so they could fire that one particular gun. And I'm telling you fellows, I didn't know whether I was crawling over a chunk of ice or a dead body frozen there. Now, if I had got a medal from people that I had taken back, whether they were soldiers, I couldn't tell you now whether they were Germans or our own or English. They come to us hollering for help. Their hands were froze right to their guns. Their ears were out here like that. Their lips were out here like that, and you couldn't hardly understand what they were saying. Their shoes had ice right around their legs and right around their shoes. To me, that is the inhuman part of war. Well, what I did, I used to help them guys into the tractor, because I had to go back and get gas anyway and get equipment. I had tanks of gas there, but I had, whether that tractor might get back, that would take gallons of gas in no time flat. I used to go back so as to restock. Well, in the meantime, I load these guys in it to take back to our own medical station. Where they went from there, I don't know. Knowing this, if there was a record of this, it might have been that was probably sunk to the boat coming over with my other equipment. I'd have probably got medals for it, but I never did. There was no record of it that I ever did this, except the people that know me. Corporal Blake, he never made it, and Johnny Cowan, he passed away too. I don't know whatever happened to him. And Corporal Mazzoni, and Lieutenant Swinson. The last I knew, he was still with the service, even though after the war was over with. He was our reconnaissance officer. I'm telling you, there's a man, I don't know where he got his brains from, but he was smart. Now, we had survey too that would survey the guns in for us, but he never paid any attention to them. He had a map of the area. He knew where he was, where he set, where we had him set and everything else, and he had the map of the area. If that first shell missed, I hate like hell to be standing where that second one was going to hit. Now, that's how true and how accurate that guy was. Now, when coming to fire at Bastogne, when he sat down and he started out the papers, all of a sudden he started giving orders to fire. We could heard the guns go off. You looked through a BC scope, you could see where it hit the building. You could see flames and everything else where that shell hit the building. And where am I? Oh, going back to Keynes, I got to tell you this. Give you a story too. Just after we left Saint Nazaire, and of course, while we were there at Saint Nazaire, we guarded the airport while the airport could take over, and the 8th Air Force. And Commander called us all together and warned us about snipers. Well, after I got this bit and everything else, I realized what they were, and told us all about it. And how they'd be in the tree and hide themselves, and you never see them, or they'd hide behind a weed or something. So just before we got to Canes, we were firing at it anyway. I had the reconnaissance officer all situated in. We did, Corporal Blake and myself. Corporal Blake and we were always together. Johnny Cowan, well, he was always with Mazzoni. And where we had this lieutenant situated in a foxhole and boxed in and everything else, we call it boxed in, it was under a great big oak tree. Well, Corporal Blake and I were walking around that tree. Well, fellas, my aching back at that time, I don't know what the hell it was, but it was either rye, wheat, or grass or something, about that tall. Well, just about dusk at night, I happened to look down across to where we were on this little knoll. You could see the weeds, or that hay, move like that. So I went over and I nudged Corporal Blake and motioned to him. Of course, there again, my name was Saint. Oh, I went through the Army, and his nickname was Saint because of St. Clair. Christ, everybody knew me as Saint. So he says, Jerry, he says, you take, or Saint, he says, you take a shot at it, and he says, I'll make sure I get him. Well, fellas, I took a shot at that thing, and I never heard the goddamn pig in my life the way that pig just squealed. Took that pig. We looked afterwards. We went down to look to see. Of course, we had time and everything else. It hit him right back to the head and come right out this right side. He lay there squealing for I don't know how long. But you know, that got around to the cannoneers. Hey, Saint, Corporal, there's a pig sniper. Shooting pigs as a sniper. Well, there's what I was scared we got. Back there then, you know, how around your edge there was, you know, and everything else. Yep. And I'm getting back to, now we left from St. Law, or from Battle of Balls back to the mud of Moselle Valley. This is a good story too. Here comes a jeep along the road and hollers to his lieutenant, hey Lieutenant, how many in your outfit? Lieutenant looks around and he says, I see 5 right here. So here they did, they throw something all wrapped up in cellophane, frozen. Corporal Blake goes and picks up one. He says, hey Saint, look! He says, it must be Thanksgiving, we got turkey legs. All wrapped up in frozen cellophane. You never know what day it was. It could have been Christmas as far as we know. Yeah. And then the mud in Moselle Valley, pulling guns and everything else across the Moselle, going across the river into Metz. That was something cool. The engineers put the bridge across. Of course, the infantry, they went mostly through pontoons and everything else, but we had to get the tanks across and our guns, especially Patton. So, driving down into there, I didn't know who he was. He stopped me and he said, hey, hook onto that jeep right there and pull it back into the road. Okay, because see, Patton always led his tank. He was always ahead of his tanks. He led them all, then he'd pull off the road and motion to them on. Same as he did at Utah Beach. He stood there and motioned us on. In fact, I remember him standing there in a barrel motioning me on where I was supposed to go, off the boat. So, okay, he even hooked the cable to the damn thing himself. Well, I pulled him back up, and then I pulled the cable. He unhooked it and got in his car and went on, and I pulled it back up. And Corporal Blake sat there beside of me. He said, you know who that was, Saint? Hell no, I didn't recognize him. He says, that's General Patton, you goddamn knothead. I never even realized it was him. I don't know how many times I pulled that jeep of his back into the road. And,
what did you think of him as a general?
He was a general. And if they had let the Congress, or the people behind him, over him, would let him go on, the war would have been over with long before it would have been. Because just outside of Moselle Valley, that's where he held us up, right there at Moselle Valley. And the only way he could stop them is he run them out of supplies and gas. But he never realized that when he was held there, the casualties that were there just before we got into Moselle Valley. The strafing we got, and everything goes, I was lucky, as I told you, we had the tractors to crawl under and practically all of our our cannoneers did the same thing. When they come over strafing, we'd hide either under the trails with a gun, where they could, or else hide under the tractor, because there they had an armored plate, hoping they wouldn't catch the tanks, you know, which was protected too. But there was gas tanks in the back of that we had for, you know, along with us for fuel. But it was just lucky it never happened. But Corporal Mazzoni didn't make it one time. He lay down real flat on the ground, so the only thing you could do for him is just to lay still. That's what he did. All of a sudden he picked up, "Oh, sons of bitches, they got my rifle!" He took the butt right off his rifle, where they sprayed us, the Air Corps.
Now, what kind of sidearms or weapons did you carry?
The M1 carbine. Yeah. It was all right, but it was nothing like the M1 rifle. It wasn't that accurate. In fact, I'll show you the medals I got for. I was head of the rifle squad. Oh, there was something too. Getting ahead of my game. We were practicing that back there then. All of a sudden, I got around the barracks where they wanted some snipers. Well, I'm telling you, the next morning out on the rifle range, they wasn't a damn one of us hit the target. We ain't gonna be no sniper. The sergeant said to him, "What in the hell is the matter with you guys? What's going on?" And of course, Corporal Blake, he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He said, "We heard last night," he said, "there were snipers." He said, "I ain't gonna be no damn sniper." He said, "I'm gonna stay with the rest of the people." Well, right there and then things changed, I'm telling you. Then we went shooting for targets. Yeah. But getting back to the Naval River, the engineers, they set up pontoons and all that bit. Well, they was doing it during their day, and we get one or two tractors or tanks or something across or something, and all of a sudden here comes, we call him Bedshed Charlie. Here comes Bedshed. You could tell it by the diesel motors on them. They would rev up, and all of a sudden they'd calm down, and they'd rev back up again. And here comes Bedshed Charlie, and they blow the goddamn bridge up. They strafe and blow up the bridge. Well, the engineers would work all night long again, putting it back up. Next morning, the next day, they get along, and we get 2 or 3 minutes. It took us 4 days to get across the Moselle River, just because of that. And the engineers, they were going crazy. But they had to keep bringing supplies in, you know, to rebuild what they'd taken out. And when I went across it, the pontoon, you couldn't see it down in front of you. I was leading one of the guns across. We had to go first because to get the communications in. And all of a sudden I went down in the water. Well, I looked across, and all I could see was a pontoon ahead of me. And that's why I sat there with the fins on that, just making sure I was on them pontoons. I was in the water clear to here. Well, they take 18 ton, mister. With a gun behind you. It's going to take something to hold you up. I remember that. And that's where we got in and got across. We finally got across it and got into St. Laurent. Metz. We bombed Metz and went into St. Laurent and bombed the pillbox and stuff from there. Of course, the tanks and the infantry, they took over from there. And then we went from there just outside of Capelle, France. And we were firing at Saarbrücken, Germany. One of another big depots and transportation bit in Germany. This was at the southern end of Germany, period. Just before they went into Russia. And there's where I ended up right there. The gun was out, number 2 gun. So I looked at Blakey, I says, "It's either you or me, Blake." He said, "Well, Jerry," he said, "number 4 is out too." He said, "I'll go number 4. He said, "You take number 3. And that's where I went and got down on my knees to fix the phone. And that's where an 88, that's where they were shelling us. That's where an 88 bursted right over top of me. I caught 11 pieces of an 88. Oh, I got to tell you, one of them I got in my wrist here. It went in here. I never was taken out. So here, just a year ago, see where it traveled from there, got over to here. Well, I figured it was going to get down into that blood vein right there and was going to get into my neck. And the doctors thought so too. So what they did, where that traveled from there over to there, Dr. Coleman from the Veterans Administration in Glens Falls, he took it out. The wife has got it here in a jar somewhere as a souvenir.
Huh.
I carried that thing for 63 years,
Wow.
right there on the top of my hand. Never bothered, but it just kept traveling. See how that came across that wrist,
Yeah.
over to there? Little fine, got it anyway, about that big,
It's only a little
about,
dicky thing.
about the head of a pin. And of course, from there, where I was wounded, I crawled from there. I thought it was Foxhole, but it wasn't. It was side the road in the ditch. And I somehow, when I landed in the ditch, I got my arm and back me like that. Well, that's where the shell went into me. But I can tell you, I laid there for 48 hours, and there was time, I don't know what it was, but I could see an image. I don't know what it was, a light bulb or what, but on this image was a hand. I kept doing that. And then all of a sudden it would go away, just like that. I don't know if it was that image pushing me back from death, or God, or what, or he was pushing me back so I wouldn't move my hand, my arm. Realizing where my arm was, I found out later where my arm was, where the shell went into me, kept me from bleeding to death, because my arm was all covered with blood and everything else when they pulled me up. When they come through picking up the wounded or the dead or whatever, I pulled my arm out like that. I groaned, oh boy, and I shook my hand like this. The guy said, hey, this guy's still alive. So they put me across the jeep and took me out to the medical center. From there I ended up in a hospital at Paris, France. And then from there on I went to Cherbourg back to the United States. But getting back into it, I don't know whether I'd like to say this or not about General Patton. You asked me about General Patton, the kind of guy he was. He was a smart son of a bitch too. Excuse my French. I don't know if I should tell you this, but I'm going to anyway. To hell with it. I don't know what they can do to me anyway, because the way I am in age, I ain't got that much longer to live anyway. The way I look at it, the way I feel, my emphysema and my lung trouble. They took our 3 guns, and I was in communication of it. He knew, I don't know how the hell he found out, through his aides or somebody he was with, found out that there was a railroad gun guarding some gold bullion. So he took 3 guns and 3 of his tanks to go get that railroad gun. Well, we got set up and everything else, and they were firing. They must have seen us, we were there firing at us or something before the airplanes got to us anyway. But their gun was so fast and heavy, it was going way beyond us, or ahead of us. It couldn't arc like ours could. See how ours could arc? We could arc it in. Well, he put 3 guns right into that. It was on rails, by the way, and it was in a cave. They had to come out, they had to go back in order to load that gun, and they come back out to fire it. We put 3 shells right into that gun, and they bounced off just like toothpicks. So there's some time where Lieutenant Swenson was smart. What he did, he put a shell, when he was out there, he put a shell on the railroad track between that and the cave that they went back in. Then the other 2 he put ahead of it. And then he put 4 of them between them. Well, at that time they couldn't move either way. So then Patton went in with his infantry and so on and so forth and got the personnel. All right. That gun was guarding 3 boxcars of gold bullion. Okay. Patton was killed on his way coming back in a car with a window down in the car. This I know. I've seen movies of this too, but according to the information I got since then, that was somewhere near right. Okay. His aide was killed in a hunting accident that knew where that gold bullion was. His driver of that vehicle that he had was killed in a ski accident. He knew where that was too. I could probably go to where that is. If I see the area, I could probably go there. But as far as the name of the place is, or where it is, or what part of France it was in, I don't know. Last I know, it was near the Russian border. All right. Tell you this, Russia was broke during the war. with everything and everything else. About a month after the war, she puts a $1 billion rocket in the air. Where did she get the money? Now, somebody knew, besides Patton's outfit, where that gold bullion was. As I said, all three of them knew exactly, had the map for it and everything else. He was on his way back to the government to prove this, where it was. He was on his way back to the States to do this, and he was killed on his way back, same as the three people that he was with. Now, I don't know about the tank, the 3rd Division. It was the 3rd Division. That's the tanks that he was with. And those people know of it or anything else. I don't remember if anything ever happened to them. But I don't know these three people were that way.
Mm-hmm. So you don't know if the gold was in that cave or it was buried or it was somewhere in that area?
We do know that tank or that gun was guarding that gold, 3 carats of gold bullion. We do know that.
Mm-hmm.
That I know, because that's what Lieutenant Spencer told us, and that's what he got his news from. Was General Patton. Everything ordered out that we got was from General Patton, regardless if it was the 3rd, 4th, or 3rd, 4th, or 5th Division. He was in the 3rd Division. Omar Bradley was the 4th Division, and General Gregory was the 4th Division, or 5th Division rather. 3rd, 4th, and 5th it was, the 3rd Army.
Now, after you were wounded, how long were you in the hospitals? How long were you in hospitals?
Oh, there's a story too. I think I was in France for 6 weeks, in the hospital there. Then I was moved from there to Cherbourg, and from there over to Tilton General in New Jersey. Then I went from there to Camp Edwards, Massachusetts. As the dates and times go, I got no idea. Probably somewhere on the medical bit that I've got to tell the dates, but I'm pretty sure it was 6 weeks in France, and I know it was 2 weeks coming across. I laid on the bed because I was known as a litter case. And I went from there into New Jersey, where they operated on me 3 times. The floating rib, that they took out the end of it. They didn't take it all out along with the other 2 at the time because the end of it kept decaying. So they went in to take the decay off. Well, they did that twice. But there again, the 3rd time they went in, they said, to hell with this, so they took the rib right out entirely. So the 11 pieces I caught 1 piece like that one, hit me in the back here. Mm-hmm. They went down, threw me into this leg here, like that. And it went in this way here, and it stayed there. And that's why they took out the lower left lobe of the lung, left kidney, and 3 ribs out of me.
Now, was your family able to come and visit you while you were in the hospital in New Jersey?
No. Oh, but this is what I want to tell you. In France, I laid there. Of course, Red Cross. Of course, right away, the medical bit, they said, well, he's dead. When they loaded me in the ambulance, of course, I was unconscious and everything else, and they figured I was gone. So right away, they sent a notice home that I was killed in accident to my mother and father. Well, so about 2 weeks after being in the hospital there in France, Red Cross comes through, wanted to know if I wanted to write a letter home or somebody to contact at home. I said, yeah, so I had her write a note to Mom and Dad. Now, can you imagine the thought of Mom and Dad getting a letter 2 weeks after it was, they got it from there and saying and then getting a letter from me from France, from the hospital in France, telling how I felt and everything else and what they did to me.
So no one from the government came back to say that you were alive?
Yeah.
It just took a letter from you?
Yeah. Yeah, quite a deal.
Now, when were you discharged?
45. It's on the papers there as I got discharged.
Okay. After the war, did you ever make use of the GI Bill?
No,
Did you ever use the 5220 Club?
no, I don't even remember that one.
That was for 52 weeks. You received $20 a week. It was like an unemployment payment.
Gosh, maybe it was, but I don't remember if it was or not.
Did you ever stay in contact with anyone that was in service with you?
Yeah, Johnny Cowan. At the time, he owned a garage and a service station there at Stillwater. Corporal Blake, he never made it. He got killed before he got discharged. I don't know where or anything else, but I heard he was. And as far as going to anybody I ever knew, he was the only one I ever received from there.
Did you join any veterans organizations? Did you ever join any veterans organizations?
Oh yeah, I joined the VFW. I'm we got the anniversary of 60 years coming up there, and then I also joined the American Legion here in town.
You were also a life member of the DAV.
Yeah, you know, life member of the DAV, all three of them. DAV with VFW and American Legion. We got a 60th anniversary coming up May 5th here at the VFW, and I'll probably get my 60th pin there. Yeah, that or the 55th.
How do you think your time in the service changed or had an effect on your life?
Well, that's a good question, sir. Right now, the effect I've had on me for where I wounded is what I'm suffering for today. I'll tell you that. Along with the smoking with the emphysema is the worst. But see, well, the problem of it is now, my life now, going through life now as it is, I'm 83 years old. And it's taken the wind out of me, and I can't do what I like to do. What they did when they took out the left lung, the lower left lobe, according to the lung specialist and the specialist I've been to since then, said I should have taken the complete lung out at the time. But they only took out just part of it. So what happened, scar tissue just growed around that lung and the valves and the tube going from the bronchial down into that lung. Well, it closes up like that. The muscles do. That's why I have to take this medication and so on and so forth with a nebulizer 4 times during the day to keep that muscle loose. So it'll, when I breathe, it'll open up like that and close when I breathe. Otherwise, I get short of breath and I can't breathe. So, as far as the war goes, I think that's where I'm suffering from today.
You did all after you did too, because he had to work outside all the time. He couldn't work inside. He had to quit one time and go on a vacation because of the lung.
If you could hold these photographs, if you hold it just like this, he can focus in on it and tell us where and when those photographs were taken.
I think these were taken at the...
It's written on the back of that big one.
I think it was taken right in the...
I couldn't read it, but it's written in.
I couldn't either.
This was done in Mississippi,
Okay.
at the hospital, I think, in Mississippi.
Now, can you hold that up in front of you and I can
Camp
focus
Edwards. I
in
think it
on
was
it?
at Camp Edwards, Mississippi. This is into something at Mississippi. I think that's what it said.
Okay, hold it up like this in front of you and Wayne can focus on it.
Yeah.
I don't know when the little one was taken.
Okay. All right. Copy.
Okay, thank you.
And you want to hold up this Purple Heart and
Yeah.
uniform?
Yeah, I gotta take it out.
Yeah, I didn't know it. My father's is in there too, from 1917 to 1919.
Oh, he was in World War I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's a note, a 10 franc note from England too.
Mike, maybe you could hold it up.
Yeah.
Or hold it.
Okay, and this is your VFW uniform?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. This should be on here.
Okay.
Maybe I could just hold it there.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize I had that.
Well,
Yeah. So I figured I'd stick it
I
in
guess
there
you
with
can see
this.
up there, can't you?
Yep, I got that. Okay.
Okay, that's it. These are all World War I.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your interview.
Yeah.
You did. You some great stories.
I would get something from him if something happened to him.
Oh, wait a
And I-
second. Excuse me. I had that on standby. Could I
Oh,
get that
I'm
again
sorry.
for you?
you want it again?
Yeah,
So
go
I
ahead.
asked him up there, and he said, no, if you get less than $800 a month, then the woman would get something.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, but if it was 100%, then I would get something. I
Uh-huh.
don't know what percentage or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept all his papers from, because he every 2 years or less
You
than
got
that,
it?
he was in the
Yeah.
Yes,
hospital.
yes.
So we went up to Glens Falls or wherever the main thing is up there, and I took all the papers. It took a year,
Mm-hmm.
and they finally went through all the government stuff and whatnot, and they finally said he should have been on 100% way before he was on the 70%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a bit about the...
So that's
Yeah.
when he went on to 100%.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing.
Well, I got to tell you about being in the Paris hospital. I forgot.
Yeah.
Where that shell went down into me, it didn't go straight in, but it went in here like that and it turned. And just one part of it stuck out the edge here. Later in the hospital, I got some goddamn sore, so the nurse come in to give me my vitals and everything else, check my blood pressure and temperature and that forth, so forth. And I said to her, I'm awful sore down there between the right side of my leg. So she grabbed the goddamn covers and pulled my legs apart. She says, oh my God. She says, I better go see a doctor. Finally, there was 2 doctors and this nurse came back in. And this one doctor looked at it, and he was the one that operated on me, I guess. He looked at it and felt of it. Oh, he said, there's that son of a bitch, that piece we've been looking for. That laid in there all that time. Oh, it must have been a week or 10 days after I come to in the hospital that it got sore.
No,
So
he's
they just, all they did, just put some needles and stuff around it and cut it open, pulled it out and sewed it back
He's
up.
had his back fused 4 sections because of the 3 ribs out. He had to have a couple discs taken out,
Yeah,
and then he kept falling and whatnot, and he had to have his back fused 4 sections. We can't really bend.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's suffered a lot. I know. I went through it with
Yeah.
him.
according to the specialist.
Now, when were you married?
In 47.
47, okay.
Yeah, we just celebrated our 59th, the 14th of March.
I knew him way before that when he lived
Yeah.
next door to me.
Mhm.
He
I
used
used
to
to
fix
write
my
letters home
bicycles
to
for me. And I was still in high school.
I was still writing letters home to her when I was in service.
I'm the one that sent him money to get home from the hospital for leaves.
Massachusetts, Camp Edwards. You just take a train ride from Camp to Rensselaer and walk over on the East Street.
No, he suffered through the years.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, where I'm suffering is because where they operated down my back has turned into arthritis.
Oh, boy.
And I'm having trouble. They can't do anything about it because my resistance won't take it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, there you go.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you for your interview.
Well,